Hi, I'm Jefferson Drexler, and this is Parent Like You Mean It, the podcast where we talk about parenting with intentionality. In other words, trying to do things on purpose today to try to avoid as many disasters as we can tomorrow. Now, my kids don't get in much trouble for doing bad stuff. I have 4 boys, and they do hit each other. They tease, trash talk, and put one another down. They leave their clothes lying on the bathroom floor and leave their dirty dishes on the table. They skip doing their homework and thus perform poorly on tests. And yeah, they may get reprimanded for these or any of the other infractions that they commit in regards to our house rules, but there are few sins under our roof worse than lying. It's when they hit their brother and then lie about it that they really get busted. It's when they lie and say that their homework is done when it's actually not, when things really start to get ugly. It's when truth is abandoned that the kraken of discipline is released. But when I take a giant step backward and I observe the culture that surrounds my kids, who can blame them? Why should they live under the tyrannical governance of truth when truth and facts are about as relevant as a brontosaurus or a cosmic black hole? I mean, yeah, these things may have existed once upon a time. They may have even played a vital role in daily life here on Earth or even in the existence of the cosmos. But dinosaurs and supernovas don't exactly affect my kids' lives today. How sad is it that the same can be said about truth? In 2016, the Oxford Dictionary actually recognized the term post-truth as its International Word of the Year. Post-truth is an actual thing. The dictionary defines post-truth as, quote, relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. In other words, our culture is more swayed by people's moods than objective facts. Consider the story of Hamster Girl. No, I'm not referring to a new Marvel comic book character, but I'm talking about a young professional writer who had an interesting disagreement with her editor. According to Carol Bleimeyer's Twitter stream, this young writer was so distraught after receiving constructive criticism from her editor that she called her mother, put her on speakerphone, and kept saying, quote, I thought what I wrote was perfect, and she just made all these changes and then had the nerve to tell me I was spelling words wrong when I know that they're right because that's how I've always spelled them. I mean, I always spell hamster with a P. She has no right to criticize me, unquote. Bleimeyer tweeted her perspective, which coincides with my own. She wrote, I think I was more perplexed by the insistence of wanting to spell something the way she wanted to because she wanted to, ignoring the fact that there are rules and dictionaries. Then there's Emil Ratelband. He's a Dutch TV host and positivity guru who attempted to legally change his age from 69 to 49 because he didn't feel 69 years old. As Ratelband put it, you can change your name, you can change your gender. Why not your age? Now, Emil's logic may sound true, but it's simply not rooted in truth. Now, we used to joke about pastors never letting facts get in the way of a good story for their sermon, but that was in regards to which of his 3 kids slipped going up the stairs, or was the line at the grocery store 3 people deep or 10, not whether it was a guy in front of the line or a girl, or a guy who was identifying as a girl. Which brings me to the birds and the bees, or rather the X's and the Y's. In high school, there were some guys who felt more comfortable hanging out with the girls and vice versa. There were girls who hated the idea of jelly shoes and high bangs, so they opted for trucker hats and high tops, if you know what I mean. But they were still definitely girls. We were taught, very succinctly, that there was no getting around our chromosomal makeup. Either we had 2 X chromosomes, making us a girl, or an X and a Y chromosome, making us a boy. There are boys who behave more effeminately than others, and girls who behave more masculine than other girls. But at the microscopic, scientific level, we're either boys or girls. Now, for those of us who didn't pay that much attention in science class and instead watched too many movies, little Joseph put it plainly in the movie Kindergarten Cop. Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. But according to the culture surrounding our kids today, little Joseph is wrong. Quoting someone who is nearly never wrong, Dennis Prager, he said, quote, a writer for the left-wing magazine The Nation defended the victory of 2 high school male-bodied trans women who defeated all the female-bodied women in a Connecticut track meet competition because, in his words, quote, Trans women are in fact women. Now, we all know trans women are not in fact women, that they are biologically men who regard themselves as women. And in private life, I have no problem treating trans women as women if they look and dress female and take on a female name. But it is completely unjust to have them compete against born females in sports. They are not in fact women. They consider themselves women despite the facts, unquote. The trouble is that we are living in a culture where if something is repeated enough, it eventually is regarded as fact, without any regard to the claim's actual validity. It's as if the entire society has swapped out Hans Christian Andersen's Emperor's New Clothes for David Spade's Emperor's New Groove, and that's not a fair trade by anyone's standard. The fact that something is deemed unpopular doesn't negate the fact that it's a fact. In other words, as Ben Shapiro often claims, facts don't care about your feelings. In fact, there's that word again, unpopular convictions can be good. Or they can be foolish if you're convicted of something that's false. For example, last year, my boys were reading Mildred Taylor's classic novel, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. For those of you who haven't read it yet, read it. It's an immersive work that brings you right into the heartwarming and heartbreaking world of Depression-era Mississippi, when family, integrity, and independence were paramount. Yet the main characters stood immediately in the face of racism and social injustice. Repeatedly, my boys were reminded of what Cassie, the narrator, called the way things are. You see, at that time, in that place, it was considered true by too many people in the South that black people are less valuable than white people. That was the popular belief. That was the influential public opinion. And it was, is, and always will be 100% false. The Declaration of Independence has it right, though admittedly it wasn't applied correctly for far too many decades. Certain truths are self-evident. These facts are true regardless of public opinion or cultural trends. All men are created equal. That's all men, no matter what color of skin that they may have. All men as in mankind, meaning men, women, and children alike. And every person is endowed, freely given without earning it, certain unchallengeable rights that come from God, our Creator. These rights include, but they're not limited to, the right to life, to live freely while pursuing happiness. However, even in pursuit of someone's personal happiness, the ends do not justify the means if the means are not based on truth. The fact is, the skeleton of our entire free society is woven together by shared truth. As truth erodes away, even with the best of intentions, the backbone of our culture erodes away with it like societal osteoporosis. Now at this point, I have to set one thing straight. In many cases, it is possible that two seemingly opposite things can be true at the same time. These moments are somewhat rare, but they do happen. For example, an all too personal example, a student can be very smart and yet still receive failing grades because he decided to go snow skiing instead of show up for class week after week. And I apologize to my mom and dad, but we'll save my college failures for yet another episode. We see other examples all around us where two opposing facts remain true. My neighbor, she's incredibly mean. She cusses out my wife and kids, but she's undeniably loving to her own adult children and puts up a Christmas light display visible from the International Space Station for the enjoyment of my entire community. Another example, someone can say or tweet stupid things and come across as a complete jerk to half of the nation's population and still be spot on with his employment policies. Or yet another example of two apparently contradictory truths happened within my family recently. Last month, my sister-in-law was in a terrible traffic accident. She was stopped at a red light. She proceeded to move forward when her light turned green, but just then, a guy flew through the intersection, running his red light, causing my sister-in-law to T-bone his car, setting off airbags and totaling both vehicles. Now, luckily, everyone escaped the accident with merely scratches and bruises, but my point is that the accident was clearly the other guy's fault. Not only did he break the moving violation of running a red light, but a host of other driving laws as well. My sister-in-law was wronged and, along with her car, damaged on so many levels. But as I explained what had happened to my 16-year-old son, who has just recently started driving on his own, it dawned on me. There is a second aspect that is also true. Before any of us steps on the gas pedal when the light turns green, we need to look both ways to make sure that no idiot is about to endanger all the rest of us drivers. You see, it's true that some drivers make unsafe, idiotic mistakes. But it's also true that the rest of us, especially my son, needs to keep a careful eye out even when we have the right of way. And this applies to traffic laws as much as it does metaphorically to the rest of life. You see, as parents, we must do the hard work of discovering and defending truth. And it's our job to pass on and instill truthful convictions to our children. Now, in light of truth, we also need to cling to mercy as much as we do justice. In other words, just because I'm right and you're wrong, I shouldn't hammer you with the truth, but I should remain humble at all times without ever compromising my own convictions or acquiescing to the point of abandoning truth. And finally, here's one more bonus truth. I can vehemently disagree with someone, even about something of utmost importance, and still love them. I still love my friends when they disagree with nearly everything that I just said over the past few minutes. I love my family members, even when I see them making decisions that are in direct conflict with the way that I would do things. And thankfully, hopefully, you guys all still love me. I love my country and its unique foundational documents and truths that set us apart from the rest of the world's nations. I still love my kids when they say that 21 Pilots is as great as you too. Okay, that's an opinion, but come on. Now, I understand that over time we may learn more information that changes what we know as fact. That's why we now have penicillin, Purell, and models of the Earth that are round instead of flat. But until the truth is bona fidely disproven, it's still true. The point is this: 2 + 2 will always be 4. Little Joseph was right and truthful. So was Thomas Jefferson. And so is our responsibility to not be influenced when people try to trick us with lies so clever that they sound like truth. Instead, we must lovingly hold fast and speak the truth with conviction as we parent like we mean it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Jefferson Drexler for Parent Like You Mean It.